Welcome to the Randy Report. I'm Randy Slovacek, your host. I'm also the writer and editor of therandyreport.com, where you can find me every single day following the daily news cycle in terms of politics, pop culture, and entertainment news of interest to the LGBTQ community and its allies. In this week's headlines, a federal appeals court has ruled that requiring teachers in Maryland to use transgender students' chosen pronouns does not violate a teacher's First Amendment rights. A new report from GLAAD found anti-LGBTQ incidents increased from 2024 to 2025. The acclaimed family dramedy Jimpa explores the emotional intergenerational journey of a gay grandpa reconnecting with his grandkid. All that and more in this episode of The Randy Report. A federal appeals court ruled last week that Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland did not violate a substitute teacher's First Amendment rights to freedom of speech and religion by requiring her to use transgender students' chosen pronouns. A three-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals of the Fourth Circuit upheld a ruling by the Federal District Court for Maryland, which dismissed most of teacher Kimberly Ann Polk's claims and denied her request for a preliminary injunction that would require the school district to assign her only to classes with no transitioning students while her case went through the courts. Because Montgomery County Public School guidelines apply to all teachers and don't mention religion, the court declared that the policy was, quote, not motivated by religious hostility, and the district did not target Christian teachers, as Polk had claimed in her lawsuit. The appeals court agreed that the guidelines are neutral and do not show hostility towards any particular religion. Judge Robert B. King wrote for the majority, quote, because Polk herself is a Christian who believes that there are only two sexes does not mean that all Christians believe the same thing and that non-Christians inherently believe otherwise, end quote. Judge King further agreed that her free speech claim should be dismissed because the speech in question was part of her official duties. He added, we readily decline Polk's invitation to run the public schools. It's worth noting that the Fourth Circuit includes Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and West Virginia as well as Maryland, so this ruling can be applied in those states too. In 2025, there were 1,042 anti-LGBTQ incidents across the U.S., according to GLAAD's anti-LGBTQ extremism reporting tracker, marking a 5% increase from the 984 incidents in 2024. These included 128 acts of vandalism, 76 assaults, 22 threats of mass violence, and 15 arson attempts. These incidents include both criminal and non-criminal expressions of hate, from protests at drag shows to sprees of vandalism targeting pride flags to bomb threats against healthcare providers of transgender patients. Over half of these incidents, 532, specifically targeted transgender and gender nonconforming people, a 10% increase from 2024. Pride events saw a dramatic increase in incidents as well, making 2025, quote, one of the most dangerous years on record for LGBTQ Americans, according to the report. There were 268 incidences during June, a nearly 400% increase from the 54 incidents in June 2022, when GLAAD first began collecting data. As regular listeners of the Randy Report know, anti-transgender bathroom bans have become increasingly common in red states in recent years. Most have focused on schools targeting trans children and forcing them to avoid using the bathroom for extended periods of time, though some have expanded to colleges, universities, and other public spaces. Until now, however, Every state that has enacted such a ban has limited it to public buildings, and few have included enforcement mechanisms aimed directly at transgender people themselves. But that may be about to change. Legislation passed this week by the Kansas state legislature would bar transgender people from updating the gender marker on their driver's licenses, going so far as to revoke existing licenses and force individuals to surrender them in exchange for documents bearing an incorrect sex designation. And the legislation also layers on sweeping bathroom restrictions that go far beyond those adopted in other states. According to LGBTQ advocates tracking the bills, the measures would now even empower private citizens to act as bounty hunters, entering private businesses to search for trans people in bathrooms and sue them for alleged violations. In its definition section, the bill refers to, quote, government-owned buildings, a category that spans everything from highway rest stops and municipal parks to the state capitol, public schools, and public universities. Under the bill, any transgender person who enters a restroom that does not align with their sex assigned at birth would be deemed in violation, a penalty that could escalate to a misdemeanor carrying possible jail time. But a separate section of the bill takes the bathroom ban and turbocharges it, pushing it into territory that would instantly make it the most extreme anti-trans measure in the United States. That section creates a, quote, private right of action, allowing individuals to sue trans people they encounter in bathrooms. Nothing in that provision limits its application to publicly owned buildings. As written, it will effectively create the nation's first private bathroom ban and empower bounty hunters to search for trans people in bathrooms. While Democratic Governor Laura Kelly is expected to veto these measures, the legislature does have enough votes to override a veto. Coming to a theater near you soon, the acclaimed family dramedy Jimpa explores the emotional intergenerational journey of a gay grandpa reconnecting with his grandkid. The official synopsis reads, filmmaker Hannah, played by Olivia Colman, takes her trans non-binary teenager Frances, played by Aude Mason Hyde, to Amsterdam to visit their gay grandfather, lovingly known as Jimpa, played by John Lithgow. When Frances expresses a desire to stay with Jimpa for a year abroad, Hannah is forced to reconsider her parenting beliefs and the stories she has long told about her family. As Jimpa faces the difficulty of aging as a gay man in a generation that never expected to grow old, and Frances grapples with the disappointment of heroes falling short of their ideals, Hannah learns to navigate the differing perspectives of her father and her child. Told with empathy, humor, compassion, and joy, Jimpa celebrates the unique loves and challenges of a modern queer family across 3 generations. The critics have raved about the film. Writing for Variety, Peter DeBruge called this John Lithgow's richest role since A World According to Garp, a film about progress, not going back, capturing and celebrating the ripple effects of the sexual revolution across 3 generations. Out Magazine's May Rude called Jimpa a very personal and sweet film about love, empathy, curiosity, and connection. One can safely bet that Jimpa will soon become a go-to comfort movie for many queer people and their families. And Tim Grierson, for Screen Daily, writes, led by layered performances from Colman and Lithgow, Jimpa is an affectionate, perceptive observation about the quiet difficulties of family. This gentle, emotionally candid story exudes a welcome messiness. Following its world premiere at Sundance and screening at festivals all over the world, Jimpa opens at select theaters on February 6th, then expanding to nationwide release. I highly recommend it. And that brings me to the end of this episode of The Randy Report. If you enjoy catching up on LGBTQ news in a quick podcast, I'd appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss an episode. I like to think of the Randy Report as the 60 minutes of gay news, only shorter. And remember, you can find me every single day on the internet at therandyreport.com, where I cover the daily news cycle in terms of politics, pop culture, and entertainment news of interest to the LGBTQ community and its allies. Thanks for listening, folks. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.